Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel filed a lawsuit against the Biden administration, alleging interference in their merger attempt.
The lawsuit centers around a national security review conducted by the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States.
This committee wields considerable authority when assessing foreign investments and their potential national security implications. How does their role factor into this specific case?
The committee's review process and the influence exerted by President Biden are at the heart of the lawsuit's allegations.
Both President Biden and former President Trump expressed opposition to the merger during their respective campaigns.
Their stance underscored the perceived importance of retaining U.S. Steel under American ownership.
Does this shared viewpoint necessarily indicate political motivation in the subsequent actions taken by the Biden administration?
Nippon Steel contends that their proposal was designed to benefit American workers.
Their offer included relocating their U.S. headquarters to Pittsburgh and upholding all existing agreements with the United Steelworkers Union.
These provisions were intended to address concerns about potential job losses or negative impacts on American workers.
Despite these assurances, their lawsuit alleges a biased CFIUS review process.
They cite a lack of feedback on their proposed national security agreement and the unusual decision to escalate the case directly to the president.
This deviation from established procedures raises concerns about the transparency and fairness of the review.
It supports Nippon Steel's claims of a predetermined outcome influenced by political considerations.
Alongside the lawsuit against the administration, Nippon Steel filed a separate lawsuit against Cleveland-Cliffs, the competing steel company, and the USW. What are the allegations in this second lawsuit?
This lawsuit alleges collusion between Cleveland-Cliffs and the USW to thwart the merger and establish a monopoly within the domestic steel market.
They specifically accuse Cleveland-Cliffs CEO Lourenco Goncalves of repeatedly assuring investors that the Biden administration would block the deal.
Goncalves' statement suggests potential access to insider information or undue influence exerted to undermine the merger.
The USW has denied any improper coordination with Cleveland-Cliffs or the Biden administration.
They maintain their opposition stemmed solely from concerns about protecting American jobs and national security interests.
How does their stance contribute to the broader context of this case, considering the multiple perspectives and allegations involved?
These lawsuits highlight the intricate intersection of economic interests, national security concerns, and political maneuvering.
These dynamics are particularly pronounced in industries deemed strategically important, such as the steel industry.
The outcome of these lawsuits could have far-reaching consequences for future foreign investment in the U.S. and the perceived influence of presidential power over regulatory decisions. It could also bolster the perception of the U.S. as a challenging market for foreign investment.
Especially in sectors considered strategically sensitive, how has the White House addressed these lawsuits?
The White House defends the integrity of the CFIUS review process.
They assert that President Biden remains committed to protecting national security, infrastructure, and supply chains.
Their response indicates confidence in the legality and legitimacy of their actions.
Nippon Steel claims they received no written feedback regarding their proposed national security agreement. Is this customary in CFIUS reviews?
The absence of written feedback, coupled with the unusual decision to bypass standard procedures and refer the case directly to the president.
This raises concerns about the transparency and impartiality of the CFIUS process in this particular instance.
It lends credence to Nippon Steel's allegations of a politically motivated review.
Given the complexities of this case and the deference often afforded to CFIUS in matters of national security, how likely is Nippon Steel to prevail in their lawsuit?
The prospects of Nippon Steel's success remain uncertain.
While their arguments raise valid concerns about potential political influence, substantiating these allegations in court and overturning a presidential decision on national security grounds will be an uphill battle.
It will require compelling evidence to demonstrate that the CFIUS process was indeed manipulated for political purposes.
Former President Trump expressed skepticism about Nippon Steel's bid to acquire U.S. Steel.
He suggested that tariffs would eventually enhance the company's profitability, making it a more attractive asset to retain in the future.
How does this perspective contribute to the ongoing debate surrounding the merger?
Trump's comments introduce another layer of complexity to the situation.
They highlight the divergent views on the long-term viability of U.S. Steel as an independent entity and the potential influence of trade policies on its valuation.
It underscores the broader economic and political considerations entangled in this merger attempt.
How has Nippon Steel's CEO responded to former President Trump's comments?
He asserted that their partnership with U.S. Steel aligned with Trump's vision of revitalizing U.S. manufacturing.
He also expressed confidence in their ability to demonstrate the acquisition's benefits for the United States if granted a new CFIUS review free from political interference.
This response reflects their determination to proceed with the merger and their belief in its positive economic impact.
What specific remedies are Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel seeking from the court?
They are requesting the court to invalidate President Biden's decision
And grant them the opportunity to resubmit their merger proposal for a fresh, unbiased national security review.
Their objective is to secure an impartial evaluation based solely on the merits of their proposal and its potential contribution to U.S. interests.
U.S. Steel occupies a prominent position in American industrial history.
Its establishment in 1901 and contributions to national economic recovery during the Great Depression and World War II highlight its significance.
How does this legacy factor into the current situation?
U.S. Steel's historical importance adds a symbolic dimension to the case.
It raises questions about the implications of potentially transferring ownership of such an iconic American company to a foreign entity.
Particularly given the concerns about national security and economic competitiveness.
U.S. Steel has grappled with financial challenges, including declining revenue and profit.
This has made it susceptible to takeover attempts.
How has this vulnerability influenced the dynamics of this situation?
U.S. Steel's financial performance has made it a target for competitors seeking to expand their market share within the U.S. steel industry.
This vulnerability creates an incentive for companies like Nippon Steel to pursue acquisitions.
Potentially reshaping the competitive landscape of the industry.
Nippon Steel faced hurdles from the outset of their bid.
President Biden's early opposition, even before the formal CFIUS review, signaled a potential bias against the merger.
This was further compounded by the USW's endorsement of Biden shortly after he voiced his opposition.
These early developments created a challenging environment for Nippon Steel's bid.
The perception of political influence and the involvement of organized labor presented significant obstacles to overcome.
These factors cast a shadow over the fairness and objectivity of the subsequent review process.
Vice President Harris also voiced opposition to the deal and subsequently secured the endorsement of the USW.
How did her stance contribute to the complexities of this situation?
The involvement of high-ranking officials and the alignment of powerful interest groups amplified the political pressure surrounding the merger.
It heightened concerns about the prioritization of political considerations over economic and national security factors in the CFIUS review.
The CFIUS referral process deviated from the norm in this case.
Rather than the typical practice of either approving a deal or recommending presidential action, they took the unusual step of referring the case directly to President Biden.
Does this suggest a predetermined outcome influenced by external factors?
This departure from standard procedure raises questions about the motives and influences underlying the CFIUS review.
It supports Nippon Steel's allegations of political manipulation and raises concerns about the transparency and fairness of the process.
This deviation from established norms warrants further scrutiny to ensure the integrity of the CFIUS review process.
Nippon Steel also alleges that CFIUS staff were prohibited from engaging in negotiations with them regarding a proposed agreement to address national security concerns.
Was this a standard practice within the CFIUS review process?
This restriction on negotiation, if true, represents a significant departure from typical CFMF procedures.
It reinforces the perception of a biased review process and supports Nippon Steel's claims of a predetermined outcome driven by external influences.
If Nippon Steel's allegations of political manipulation within the CFIUS review are substantiated, what implications could this have for future foreign investment in the United States?
It creates uncertainty and apprehension among foreign companies considering investments in the United States,
particularly regarding the predictability and impartiality of the regulatory environment.
If the perception takes hold that the CFIUS process is susceptible to political interference, foreign companies might hesitate to invest.
This hesitancy could have significant repercussions for the U.S. economy,
especially in sectors heavily reliant on foreign investment for innovation and growth.
This case underscores the challenges of balancing national security concerns with fostering a welcoming environment for foreign investment.
It raises the question of how policymakers can effectively balance these competing priorities.
A transparent and predictable CFIUS review process is crucial.
One that prioritizes national security while ensuring fair treatment for all investors, regardless of their origin.
Clear guidelines, Objective criteria and robust mechanisms for addressing concerns are essential.
These elements are vital for maintaining a balance that benefits both national security and economic prosperity.
This case exemplifies the growing complexities of international business transactions.
It highlights the need for clear regulations, robust enforcement mechanisms, and international cooperation.
These elements are essential for navigating the challenges of globalization.
And for balancing national interests with the benefits of global economic integration.
The potential impact of this lawsuit on the relationship between the United States and Japan is a significant concern.
A protracted legal battle or a decision perceived as unfavorable to Japan could strain diplomatic ties,
Potentially leading to diplomatic tensions and reduced economic cooperation between the two nations.
Maintaining a strong and mutually beneficial relationship requires careful consideration of the impact of legal and regulatory decisions on bilateral ties.
And on long-term strategic partnerships.
This case could influence the U.S. government's approach to future mergers and acquisitions involving foreign entities.
What specific changes might we anticipate in the CFIUS review process or broader investment policies?
This case could lead to heightened scrutiny of foreign investments, particularly in sectors deemed strategically important.
We might observe the implementation of stricter regulations, enhanced transparency measures, and more rigorous national security assessments.
These changes could impact the speed and complexity of the CFIUS review process.
Potentially affecting the attractiveness of the U.S. as a destination for foreign investment.
This case highlights the complex interplay of politics, economics, and national security in an increasingly interconnected world.
It reveals the challenges inherent in balancing competing interests.
In ensuring fairness and transparency in regulatory processes.
And in navigating the complexities of global economic governance.
This case serves as a reminder of the intricate web of factors that shape international business and investment decisions.
Until next time, goodbye.